Welcome back, guys. Let me turn this off real quick to... I haven't done one of these in a while, man. Alright, 7.10 patch preview. So as a preface, I haven't played that much League in the last 2 weeks. So this is going to be just... The review on this patch is going to be largely based on like what I already think about the game before. And usually I come in with expectations what I like to be changed. Obviously, nothing really changed for me. I think that stuff like Ninja Tabby, stuff like Bork need to be looked at. Some of the supports that are really impressive, like Lulu Karma, should be looked at. And some other things, but let's just go see what they decide to do. So, patch 7.12. Mid-season has been here for a patch, which means it's time to revisit the slate of changes who aren't quite hitting the mark. We're taking time to hit overperforming champions and bring them in line, and we're modernizing improvements to the number of champions. Cool. Let's start. And before I go over the Heimerdinger stuff, I want to say that Riot's adopted a new policy based on champions. Instead of announcing like massive reworks and scaling them all out in one big patch, like for instance the Assassin patch, instead they're just kind of slating out these reworks whenever they can get it. I think it started since the Amumu one, and then Heimerdinger and Rammus are like the follow-ups, you know, and they're doing it for like a bunch of different champions. Personally, think it's a good thing. But let's just keep going. Heimerdinger, more turrets, more rockets, more grenades. W and E hit charge beam laser turrets. Passive grants movement speed in your towers instead of ally turret health regen. Quite a while since Heimerdinger got an intention. The nest of autonomous turrets fantasy is unique, but when AI controlled units compromise the bulk of Heimer's strength, it becomes difficult to get Heimerdinger to a fair spot. Cool, they want to put them away from turret. God. Anyways, alright, let's keep going. So, base stats, health regen got nerfed. Wow, really? Health regen growth got nerfed. Really? Okay, what did he get? Gain 20% movement speed while within 300 range of allied turrets and the turrets he creates. Okay, that's pretty good. Just before I even get past this, Heimerdinger used to have one of the best laning passives in the game. It gave like huge health regen. I think it was 10 to 20 health regen like over the course of a couple levels. And the fact that they just straight up nerf his health regen base and they take away his early health regen means that if you're taking trades, you're not able to take free trades anymore. And that's something that maybe definitely Heimerdinger players gonna have to get used to. Now instead of taking trades, the idea is you just move so fast that you're always gonna be trade positive. Okay, continuing on. Turrets. More turrets early, base damage down ratio up, beam attacks more slowly but massively accelerated by W and E hits. Turrets are less punishing toward melee enemies. Stack generation. So, the 3 at all ranks. Base damage goes from 6 to 18. That kind of sucks, not gonna lie. But it scales off AP, so it does really well with AP. Double the AP scaling of the old one. Okay, cool. Beam damage goes about the same. Removed. Turrets no longer prioritize nearby enemy champions. Really? Nearby turrets get 20% charge for each W rocket that hits a champion and 100% charge if an E grenade hits a champion. Turrets charge from 0 to 100 in 90 seconds. Wow, that's so long. Charge bar is now white instead of dark blue. Okay, so essentially Heimerdinger becomes a thing where you hit them with their other abilities, your turret's going to do more damage. Let's continue. Hextech micro rockets. They buffed the mana cost by a lot. Wow, 20 off on every level. That's super good. Cooldown goes from 11 to 7. Ooh, really nice. Super big buff. Each rocket that hits a champion grants 20% beam charge with all turrets. Max 100% of all 5 rockets hit. Okay, that's pretty good. That's great though. This is like a huge buff. A lot of mid lane matchups with Heimerdinger, you couldn't get turrets because they would just get outranged by other mid laner or just removed easily. Good example, the Syndra matchup. If you're playing Heimerdinger, use max W to poke Syndra down because you're never going to have your turrets live long enough to be impactful. Mid lane, it might actually have gotten better with this W change because it means he can poke better. He's always been a poke champion that scaled pretty well because not scaled, but like did pretty well in lane because he has a really good synergy with Thunderlords. He gets self-proc Thunderlords on W, which adds a lot of burst damage. On top of this, though, the fact that he gets flat CDR and mana reduction means that you're just going to be able to spam that much more in lane. Definitely, this turns Heimerdinger, in my mind, just W max champion. I can literally just ignore all of this. Because a lot of these bonuses don't matter into melee champs. Like, they want to remove Heimer for being effective against melee champs, sure. But I think that strictly takes away the only reason why you pick him, like his straight niche. And so I think Q turns is like, what, a 1-point wonder right now? I have to reread E, but it looks like he just maxed W first and then put 1 point into Q. And maybe look to max... Well, I guess the beam damage goes up to 120, so maybe you max Q second. But let's go to E real quick. Cooldown goes 12 to all seconds, okay. And the radius goes 250. It hits a champion. Okay, so now it looks like he now lob the grenade onto himself. Oh, so he automatically charges the beam if he hits himself. All right, that's pretty interesting. Well, it looks like he maxed Q second then. Because what they did was they equalized the CDR for this. And then make it so there's no stack limit on this. So whatever happens, you're just maxing W, and then you're maxing probably Q second. And keeping this at 12 seconds at all ranks is pretty good. E is the 1-pointer, and then Q you just max second. Alright, so Heimerdinger essentially turns into a poke champion. I don't know how good he is, but it's definitely 7-second cooldown on W is going to make him really obnoxious to play. I already see a situation where I'm playing in mid lane. I don't even need turrets, because I just spam... W the entire time, and my turrets are just there for when if their frontline dives me, I'm able to produce damage. But I'm just essentially I turn into a poke champ, just a common poke champion, which I think would be a really, I don't know if I'd like that change to Heimerdinger, but it's definitely something I'm gonna end up trying pretty soon. Is this in the patch right now? I should just play Heimer because I want to see if this makes sense. His upgrade E now does more damage and has a higher AP ratio. Okay, cool. I mean, mainly it's a utility move because it stuns and slows in an AoE, but I guess it's cool that he gets a slight buff onto it. Not a big deal. Rammus. So this champion got a ton of changes. His Q is faster, has shorter cooldown, but lasts for far less. W amplifies his passive. E grants attack speed. R now applies slow, but does less damage. Okay, what's the idea of this change? Rammus' playstyle is overly simple. If he can navigate through a fight and Powerball just target, the rest of his abilities are no-brainers. What's he on the end of the team? Of course he wants a ton of primary target. Of course he wants extra tanky. Of course he wants to do damage. Reducing Powerball's duration will have to make Rammus go faster more often. When he does go in, we're giving him slightly more complexity. Okay, so making him a little bit harder of a champ to play. Alright, my initial thoughts about this is that champions don't need to be complex or to be rewarding. I think that having like a kit that just like does one thing and it's very easy it's almost necessary in the game, because there'll be players out there who like really enjoy that and who will like that. Like I personally don't mind really easy kits. Like I don't think everything needs to be like let's solve a chess puzzle before we can play like while playing the champion to its maximum potential. But let's just see what they ended up changing for him. Made it so that he now gains basic auto attacks 8 to 20 plus 10%, so it's flat plus a 10% armor ratio. So it got actually a nerf for armor. Okay, interesting. It'll be better for clearing early, I think, but I have to double check with that. Definitely like a kind of an late game nerf for his damage, but it shouldn't be that bad. Let's just keep going. Powerball. So what did he end up getting? 16 to 6. Wow. Really, really low cooldown. 4 seconds off and duration goes down by 1. Now a channeled effect. Oh, so wait, why does that matter? I guess you can get silence out of it. Okay, that's the only real difference for the channel. Oh, I can't use items during his cast time. Well, I mean, that kind of sucks because Randuin's Rammus was a possibility. Oh, now it goes to magic damage as well instead of physical damage. I guess if they remove the armor pen from his E, this is fine. Doesn't really. And the fact that the damage changed from this to this it's okay. Maximum movement speed is now up to 235. Wow, they increased the maximum movement speed by that much, like almost 80%. Damage goes down by 60, but I mean it's compensated, but for the much lower CDR with high ranks, and the slow percentage goes from 20 to 40 to 40 to 80, which means it's huge slow percentage for half the duration, which I personally like better than having this, because you can get picks in that 1 second, or line up your abilities in 1 second much easier. Collision detection slightly reduced to make him easier to navigate. Unchanged, not interact with plants during Powerball. Okay, cool. Defensive ball curl, cooldown at 6 seconds. Okay, duration is 6 seconds, so it has 100% uptime if you don't get CC'd and if you have the mana to use it. The resists go from 20 flat to 55 to 70% of his total resist. Not his total bonus resist, but his total resist. I'd have to double check. I think that's just a straight nerf to him until he gets like 3-4 items. It's especially bad because it used to be that you would get resist for both armor and MR, and you would just have to stack health. However, now that he builds around, or he makes your resist that you build better, he's better for targeted like specific magic or MR teams, but he's worse against both. Definitely interesting. Okay, now slows himself by 60%. That's so much. You can end it early, and spike shells amplified by 50%. Is that this? Oh, so it goes. Okay, then it goes up to like 15%. Okay. Enemies that attack Rammus take damage equal to spike shells bonus damage, which is better late game. Scales better because it's 15% of Rammus's armor. Interesting. The more I read this, the more I just think to myself, this champ is going to be like, if you ever play Rammus into an all AD comp, you would just go God mode. Because you get scaling resistances and everything scales off your bonus armor. To the point, even your reflex scales off your bonus armor. Which happened before, but this is to a larger extent. I think that, especially this, I think that I guess he has like a very strict niche now, which is just the same one that he had before, where he's really good against armor stacking champions, which you'd be surprised by how many of those you see actually. Frenzying Taunt no longer reduces the target's armor by 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, which is really good because this isn't physical damage anymore. It now gains attack speed for the duration of the taunt. The attack speed duration constantly refreshes while Rammus's other abilities are active. So you can just have this perpetual attack speed buff. I guess it's cool. It increases the relative value of his magic shell because you'd be getting off more autos while your taunt is active. It's cool. Tremors now does significantly less damage, scales less off AP. It's a 25, 50, 75 damage nerf, and it deals double damage to structures. Okay, so it's a tower breaker. It slows enemies for 1.5 seconds and it stacks up. Huh. So he becomes more utility rather than strictly damage, because his actual, if you looked at his R numbers before, you actually counted how much damage he did. His R was one of the highest damage abilities in the game. Now, rather than damage, it can just slow, which actually is really nice. Like, I think having the extra utility on his ulti is going to be really, really nice. He's less of a solo playmaker and more of a team playmaker, but I feel like that's generally the identity that he wants to be in the first place. Definitely like a really high utility champion, but not much damage. The only thing that I worry about is, like, relatively, if you don't have much damage, it means your skirmish potential is weaker, which could be a problem. However, I think that he gains a lot by having the new spike shell. He just auto people down with spike shell, frenzy, and taunt. I don't think it's that bad of in a 1v1 situation. And it looks like right now you no longer max W. You should be looking to max either Q or E, potentially E. Like having a 2.25 taunt duration on a gank is huge, especially because W doesn't give you that many benefits per level, especially early. Really interesting champion though, but really interesting changes, I should say. I'd have to double check in game to see what it is. Generally, it looks like he scales better with items. Really interested. I'll definitely gonna play this champion out to see. He looks like he could potentially be better in best case scenarios where he's like against a full 80 stack team, and then against a team with a bunch of melee threats, so his tremors can slow them all. And then worse in the normal case scenarios where he has to play against multiple threats with like normal to average mobility. So maybe just a more niche champion, but we'll see. Cassiopeia Tails now follows realistically as she moves in turn. This doesn't matter at all. Fizz based. They gutted Fizz. So Fizz top lane is actually super oppressive at the moment. They made it so that he can just go the bruiser items, and he was super good. And part of it was because his W damage did too much early. It's up to 225 of a 1.0 AP ratio. What they decided to do is they nerfed all the flat damage amounts and increases the AP ratio to quite a bit, 1.2 AP ratio. Probably means, which is really, really good for mid lane Fizz, because mid lane Fizz is for the most part we're maxing E. And now if you max E into W, you're still going to do an enormous amount of damage. But you just have to make sure that you have enough AP to cover the nerf, which should only be, how much is it? 75, is that right? That's about right. So 75 AP or 75 damage, which means you would need like 48. Oh, it's 0.2. You need about 60 AP. That's possible. That's 400 AP? Wait, that's just a flat nerf then. Wait, that sucks. It needs 600 AP to do the old damage. Wait, really? Wait, my math must be really, really bad. 375 AP. Huh, that's just a flat nerf to Fizz then. I'm trying to think if that's a good or bad thing. At the moment, Fizz has actually started seeing a lot of play as a specific counterpick to stuff like Syndra. And it's a really good flex pick option top lane. I think if you eliminate his flex pick options in terms of competitive usefulness, if he's just a counterpick to Syndra and he just gets weaker, he's just not going to see much competitive play anymore. Wow, that's a huge nerf. Alright, that's much bigger than I thought. He'll probably still end up seeing play, but yeah, especially competitively, the fact that you can't flex the pick anymore is a really, really big deal. I mean, I just played against one top lane as Gragas. I didn't see him really do much damage at all to me. I don't think Fizz will be able to do enough damage to be able to kill the top lane tanks fast enough. And part of it was, it's because his W does damage, plus the fact that he's one of the only top laners that can run Ignite. And that's the reason why your top lane tanks were pressured so hard. Now, I don't think he can convert the pressure into kills, and the fact that he can't create pressure with that before the first item means that he might not be top lane much. Which is probably a good thing, because I think that he was not what you want to play against top lane. Alright, let's keep it up. Graves, Q base damage down, ratios up, R cooldown increased at early ranks. Alright, so Graves has been a problem for a long time. I generally think the problem of Graves is that he is too healthy when he clears the jungle. But they really can't do anything about that because he has this pushback on his passive. And so what did they decide to do instead? They nerfed the base damage by 15 and then 60. But increased the bonus AD by 0.4 or 0.45. So he scales better with AD, but it's going to take a lot of AD to compensate for the amount of damage he lost, like the 75 damage. Collateral damage, he gets 20 extra seconds on ulti early. Scales back down to normal seconds. Just generally, this is like a nerf to Graves. I think that's exactly what they plan on doing. I think that's good. I think Graves has been like way too good of a jungler for way too long, but I don't think this necessarily removes Graves from the champion pool. I think Graves is still probably fine. I think the fact that he can still clear really high health makes him always gonna be good, and these nerfs aren't enough to make his jungling bad enough to not be played. He's still gonna be like a really good jungler. It's just that these nerfs might keep him more in line. Okay. Jax. Definitely needs buffs. What did they give him? Jackson's basic attack and power attack and crit animations have been improved to better match the moment damage is applied and generally feel more responsive. Sure. At least it's not a nerf. There's a champ that needs some buffs here and there. Ivern. Really impressive jungler champ. I would like to see nerfs on his shield. Bunch of random stuff. And they decided to nerf his movement speed passive. His passive costs more health and mana, and movement speed decreases by 5. Don't really think this is going to matter. He's still going to be really tough to deal with. I think the passive, the fact that he builds Redemption, and Redemption builds off, Redemption gives him a lot of mana regen, and I think he can keep himself relatively topped off. I'm not too worried for it. It might be pretty bad if he loses buffs, or he gets counter juggled early, but I think this is a champion that should have the ability, like he should be able to feel threatened while he's jungling, because he's a champion that essentially is like a utility based champion that shouldn't be very good at fending himself off. So this is probably going to be most effective before his first item, and then afterwards he's still the same exact champ. Lee Sin. Ooh, Lee Sin nerf. That's really interesting. Movement speed reduced and R cooldown increased. So, generally when I tell people how to play Lee, I tell people to make plays around his ulti cooldown. They decide to buff it because it's really high utility, I'm assuming, and he's really easy to gank with. I think this is a good decision. You have to make, like, Lee Sin is honestly has been powerful for a long time, and being able to make good decision making around your ulti cooldown should be something that you get rewarded with. Rather than just spamming when you enter a lane, just ulti them instantly and hope to pick up the kill, you know. As well as that, they nerfed his move speed by 5. It matters a very little bit. He's still gonna be a really good jungler, but they made it so his ulti got there for a little bit. Okay, cool. Lulu, yes, this champ is super good. I'm looking for poly duration nerfs, honestly, because point and click long CC is really annoying. But let's see what she got. She got nerfed her base health by 28. Is it 28? Yeah, it's 28, which is quite a bit. And her base shield shield strength got nerfed by 30 at max level 10 early. It's something. I was hoping they would nerf the poly duration, honestly. But I'll take any kind of nerfs to this champion that I can get. At the moment, it just feels really bad because even if you're not an assassin, like I feel like Lulu should be picked into anti-dive comps. But even while you're 2v2ing, if you get polymorph, it still feels really bad. Like I don't think polymorph should be able to be used as such like a long form duration CC. But at least she got nerfed somewhere. Kassadin. E hitbox modernization, it's time. Force pulse now determines what it hits at the end of its cast time rather than when it starts, so it got a compensation buff of 15. I actually think this might be a bigger deal than people think because this is the change that Cho'Gath W got, and it made it so that champion literally became like less viable to play, just strictly. I don't think it'll be as bad because the way Kassadin plays is that he can rift walk into position to hit the pulse. But I know at least playing the Cho'Gath after this change got put on his W, it felt really bad to play. Like it's to the point where I just didn't want to play him mid anymore. Maokai. So apparently Maokai support has become like just a monster support. Used to be super good, or it is super good. So Empower saplings are dealing too much damage in the early game, especially with mass first. What is it? Can't sap stone. No longer procs on towers. Actually, really big deal because it means that you can't just heal yourself when you're hitting turrets when you're sieging. Pretty important, actually. Bramble Smash 50 at all ranks. Cooldown got decreased, so it's slightly better. Okay. That's actually good. What the heck? What did his E get turned into? Okay, the mana cost got increased by 20. That's quite a bit. Base damage got decreased by 20. Wow, that's so much early. And the overall ratio got decreased by... Oh, wait, the enemy health ratio is always 8%? Even early? It's not even that big of a deal. What the heck? They nerfed the base damage, but they kept it at 8% early. I thought this nerf was going to be more. But the mana cost is actually definitely going to be felt for sure. Because it's definitely weaker early game, which is, I think Maokai is one of Maokai's worst things to get out of lane. Ideally, I think they want you to max Q, which means that he might only be viable into like other melee threats. Because Q max will be pretty strong, but maybe E max might still be playable. They're just trying to make it so that people don't spam E. But I don't know if the champion's kit is strong enough without E spam to be good. I think generally the champion feels very weak without all of his power in E. Because they removed his percentage max health from his W onto E. So of course E has got to feel strong to compensate for that. So if E stops being a reliable thing for Maokai, then you're not in luck. It's a top jungle Maokai buff and the support Maokai nerf. Makes sense. I guess they just don't like support Maokai throwing stuff into the bush. Rakan, ooh. W cast range, Q cast range increase, E shield decrease at later ranks, W damage increase at later ranks. So I love this. The fact that the range increased on Q, that's actually really, really helpful. Because his laning is kind of like really bad. Generally though, I think this champ is super good outside of lane. So I don't know if he needs too many buffs. And it made it so his E value got shortened a lot by 40, which is crazy because that means a total of 80 shield loss late game. I think once you get to late game, he's going to be strong regardless. So just making him push out of lane is really important. Generally, you tend to max 3 points in the Q and then max W in the first place. So this isn't necessarily too much of a loss. You'll only feel this once you get to like 2 items on support, which is pretty much the end of the game anyways. But definitely his laning is going to be slightly better, which is cool. Renekton, clean up even more stuff, fix a bug. No longer, oh, this is all bug fixes, where range is wrong. Okay. Riven, timing of animation Q canceling is more consistent. If you don't know what animation cancel is, you should skip this section. Q. When animation canceling has been integrated to Riven's coding for some time now, but apparently not Graves, because Riot just hates Graves. There are a lot of timing inconsistencies that makes learning her frustrating, especially for players with higher latencies. They made it so that Riven feels like a test of your reflexes instead of your internet connection. So when you're on lower ping, you can do the stuff that you could before. So you animation cancel Q casts more consistently. You reliably hit more targets on high latency, and fix a bug where you could spell Q and it didn't work. Alright, I guess that's better for Riven players overall. Obviously it could change. But I just find that it's cute that Riot fully acknowledges animation canceling as being a big part of Riven's kit, but strictly removes animation canceling from Graves' ulti. Even though, like, I feel like when they first invented Riven, the idea of animation canceling wasn't what the designers that invented Riven probably weren't like, dude, Riven's animation canceling, this is exactly how I want them to play the champion, you know? I think they took that away from Graves because he was a strong champion. Rather than, and kind of just said that it did something that it shouldn't allow them to do. And anyway, sorry, that's a random aside. Let's keep going. Sejuani. So Frost Armor grants fewer flat resistance at early levels. So Sejuani came out of the gates more ferocious than we intended. Yeah, she's a monster. So with the changes, Fury of the North will be tough, but Frost Armor's up late game will be as overbearing in early scraps. Oh wow, they gave her 100 to 20 at level 1. Okay, so it just means that you can just beat the crap out of her early, which is really good because I think she was too strong at the moment, but this might make it so that any champion can just like mess with her. At the moment, I think she's really, really bad at skirmishing, and she's only able to get away with it because she had such high resist that no one really wanted to skirmish her. But now that it's so little, like you're just going to invade her all the time, or you should to try to pressure her. Very, very vulnerable champion, especially because her early career is not very good. This is a slight cooldown increase overall. Okay. Nothing really changed. But yeah, this is really big deal. So if you want to beat Sejuani players, invade them and pressure them early. Cool. Udyr, mana cost reduce. So okay, 5 to 28. It's cool. Any buffs to Udyr, I feel like Udyr is not very good at the moment. And he's just a champ that I feel like is eventually going to get changed at some point. Because Udyr just feels like something that could be really, really cool, but never really... It only feels good when he's oppressively strong. And when he isn't, then... doesn't feel great. I think they should just rework this champion. Give him, like... Yeah. I don't know. The idea of Udyr just, I think, just hasn't worked over the years. He's been in and out of play, but I just think that it doesn't feel that good. He might actually be pretty good right now, but I haven't seen him played in a while. But yeah, they're looking to make adjustments soon, right? We're further reducing mana costs. We'll actually make more follow-up changes once we've seen how Udyr performs. Okay. Yorick, quality of life improvements. Slight Yorick is relatively weak at the moment. He's, I think, supposed to be like a tank killing champion, but ends up happening, or melee, anti-melee champ, but what ends up happening is him not being very good, just overall, because he can't really be a strong swift pusher. He just tends to be relatively ineffective during teamfights outside of his W, and other champions just out 1v1 him. So I think the change to the new Rift Herald makes him more viable, because if he can solo it, and it makes him really, really strong. But aside from that, like generally him himself as a champ doesn't feel very good. Mistwalker's no longer perish, they move too far away. Okay, cool. Last rise kills a unit when Yorick has mass graves. The furthest grave will now be replaced rather than no grave being spawned. Made stats now increase, and Yorick puts another skill into UOG rather than remaining unchanged until his summons her. Okay, so really, really small changes. This might be the most important. Maybe this one, actually. I don't really know, but generally it doesn't seem like it would help him that much. I think he's got more of a numbers problem than anything else. Just quality of life buffs. Zac. So Zac just felt like he doesn't do any damage. So what did they do to him? Zac deals damage based on Zac's max health. W and E are easier cast during Q, and E knockup duration increases over charge time. Oh, okay. So that's a lot of buffs. So what did they decide to do? They nerfed the base damage slightly and increased his Q to do percentage max health. Great. That's super good. The attack range got increased. Generates a blob if it hits a second enemy of any kind. Okay. And the slam radius is now to 300. And you can queue up your abilities now. Okay. I mean, that's good. I think one of the things that Zac lacks is the ability to skirmish. He just lacks a lot of damage. His Galactic Slingshot goes back to a full 1 second duration, which is really, really good. Major ganks are much more consistent now. This is like a really, really nice buff to the champion. And less bounce goes to... Time to fully charge goes up by 0.1 seconds. Okay. Maybe to compensate for some of these buffs. I like it. I like it a lot. Zac is probably going to be pretty strong now. Items. So the Ancient Coin line, from what Kitty told me, felt really, really weak. So what is this? Siege minions always drop a coin. The bonus skill point behaves now if you're one level higher than you currently are. I mean, this is the original quest reward. So the Nomad's Medallion goes to increase health regen. And it goes Rejuve Bead and extra gold instead of Fairy Charm. Okay. And then they increase the health regen on both Talisman and Eye. Alright, this made it a little bit stronger. I think relatively, Cutie told me that this was the weakest in terms of quests. So it's cool that they buffed the worst one. Relic Shield Lion. Frustrating trying to execute minions in late games for making it a bit easier to hit once Relic's Shield has been upgraded to either of its forms. Faces Mountain grants melee champions 150 bonus attack range and slightly increased attack speed against minions that can be Oh, cool. So once it goes below execute value, you get bonus attack range and slight attack speed. I think that's really cool. It's such a pain in the ass to try to get these because it's like you have to fight your team sometimes to clear, and your AD or your mid laner just wants to clear the thing completely. So this is definitely really, really nice. Spell-Thief's line, killing a minion pauses the tribute stacks for 6 seconds per minion slayed. Okay, so that's cool. I think Hugh said Spell-Thieves was really strong at the moment, so this barely changes it. This means that it doesn't hurt your tributes, it just pauses it. It's cool. Spirit Visage, the health got increased slightly, but MR and health regen got decreased. They're saying it's still too powerful of an item. I mean, I tend to agree, so they're just nerfing the health regen by a lot and the MRs. Okay, they decided it was too much, they nerfed it a little bit. So, enemy awareness improvements are at Rift Herald. His death cry is now global. I had a chat notification for the team which player picked it up, and Rift Herald pings the enemy team whenever she prepares to leap at a turret. Okay. Cool. I'm not going to read any of the Howling Abyss changes. I don't play this game mode. I don't play Twisted Tree Line. We're adding polymorph and grounded to crowd control displays. Control table, more to come soon. By the way, this is great. This is something that is from Heroes of the Storm, where if you get CC, the CC goes above your head. It's really, really nice to have more visual clarity when you play the game. I have nothing but good things to say about this. Onion Menace surrender at 15. Dude, that's my thumbs up right there. Thank God it's in this game, because sometimes games are just over. Like, I'm all for trying to play for comebacks, but when you're 0-20 or 0-10 at like the 10-minute mark, honestly, sometimes it feels just bad to play the game. And it requires all 5 people in the game. So if rather than opening mid, this is probably the better thing. Ping muting. Find the ping muting tab menu so you can make... Oh, some guy literally just spam pinged the entire game for me. I got so mad. So I guess this is making it so your teammates can't grief you. Cool. League client updates. You can start new conversations with friends during champ select. Well, I don't have any of those. That's not a big deal. You can manually block players from anywhere in the client. Okay, I guess that's cool. Makes it so that you can't get griefed. Your shop now works like an updated client. You have grand reopening to celebrate. If you're not familiar with your shop, select 6 skins you think you'll like. These may include legacy skins, but don't include ultimate, legendary, limited, loot, exclusive, and relatively new skins. That's kind of lame. I kind of wish they included everything. Okay, that's overall it. Cool Pulsefire Caitlyn skin is out. I think this patch had a lot of good things going for it. Just quick coverage. I think that the Zac change was great. I thought that he was relatively weak. Sejuani change really, really good. I don't know how important the Riven buff is, but some people tell me it's pretty good. I think that the Lulu change, any kind of Lulu nerf is good in my book. Lee Sin nerf is good in my book. Ivern nerf, great in my book. Wish they did a little bit more, but this is good enough. At the moment, Graves nerf, good in my book. Probably need to maybe still keep looking at him. Fizz nerf, great. I don't think he should be a top lane bruiser. And then Rammus and Heimerdinger reworks for 2 champions that saw almost no play. Really, really good. So generally, just like a great patch overall. I would still like to see nerfs to Ninja Tabi and Bork, which I thought would be like the very first things they looked at on this patch. But I'm hearing that both of those are being looked at in the next patch. So I will hold my breath until then. Anyways, I'm going to go play some ads in the queue up. I'll see you guys in a little bit. That's been my 7-10 patch note preview.